We are live. What's going on, man?
Hey man, what's going on?
Not much, not much. So, jumped on here today just to kind of talk about what you're going to school for, and just I'm curious, dude. So I want to learn as much as I possibly can. So you're going to University of Illinois Champaign and studying psychology, but specifically behavioral neuroscience, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So kind of walk me through kind of so far your journey within that realm of study.
Like how I got there?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Well, I first got into it kind of just by I picked up a psychology book like a couple of years ago, and it really helped kind of revolutionize my life personally and like the practices and the stuff they teach. So, and I saw how big of an impact it made on my life, and I was like, man, this is a pretty neat subject. And then I saw like the more I learned about it and like how much the brain can influence our behavior and all that. So I went to Lewis and Clark, decided to go back to Lewis and Clark at 25 years old, 25, and then went through Lewis and Clark, took a bunch of psych classes, decided I wanted to go to U of I, and I just recently decided I want to do behavioral neuroscience. Before that, I wasn't really sure, but the specific like mechanisms in the brain are really what kind of interests me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So, as somebody who's like battled like mental health issues in my past, I'm super intrigued by the brain, how the brain can kind of like trick us into thinking thoughts that aren't necessarily true. But I'm also like the rebuilding aspect of like you can control your brain even though it's powerful to reinforce the good in your life. So, kind of talk us through like what that like those things when we're kind of down and we're thinking about all the negative in our life. What is that coming from like our brain, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So like recently I just kind of learned about like anxiety, like anxious thoughts, a lot of that. So a lot of that is specifically like a legit like fear response. Like your brain is responding to a fear that you've like a thought, like a fear. It's the part of your brain is like the amygdala, it's called. And so like when an animal is out in the wild and like they see like, let's say it's a rabbit, and they see like a fox or whatever, like that fear response that they get, that's like the activation of their amygdala. So like it's like an actual fear response where like they freeze up and they're trying to figure out, what they're gonna do. And then it's like this big kind of like adrenaline rush. Well, the same thing kind of happens with us when we start thinking about stuff that we don't even really know if they're gonna happen. It's just like we're kind of like ruminating on things that are like, well, this is possible, and then your brain starts kind of like responds to those thoughts in a fearful way. So anxiety is kind of a tricky one because it's something that a lot of people struggle with. I've struggled with it, and just kind of figuring out like the best behaviors, and I'm still trying to like figure out what's best for like everybody, because everybody's brain is also like different. So trying to figure out the best way of people to handle that in like a realistic way is something I'm still learning. But just kind of like every day, like journaling is a big one. Like a lot of people, like if something's coming in your head, like a thought that you're like anxious about, a good practice is to like write it down, and like kind of like writing it down is a good practice because it puts it on paper, and then you get to like visualize like what you're thinking on paper, and that's a good way to kind of like calm yourself. And but that's just like practice.
So, and this is just a question that thought in my head, like journaling, is that just like kind of getting it out there? Like, hey, I need to get this thought out there to get it out of my head. Is that why people journal per se?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a way for it to, like I said, kind of just get it physically out of your brain instead of like when it's just like stuck in there. You're going through like your mind's going 100 miles per hour, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and your thoughts are like, well, then this could happen. Well, then this could happen. This could happen. Well, realistically, when you're writing it down, for one, you're focused on writing, so your brain is starting to focus on one thing, and then at the other, you're also, when you're writing down, you're stuck on one thought. So you don't even have, your brain doesn't have enough time to go from like point A to point B to point C to point D to point E.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you're just, it's kind of like getting one thought down. And yeah, I mean, that's just a great way for it. It slows the mind down a little bit in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I heard a, not really a stat, Mike. I don't know what you called it, but I heard like our brains are so powerful, but we use very, very, very little of it. Is that something that you've kind of learned, or?
That's, well, I don't know, like, you know, it's fun, like the movie Limitless or whatever. Like, you ever seen that? Yeah. So like you only use, they say like 10% of your brain, or something like that. I don't know how true like the statistics are on that, but I mean, like, I guess like a lot of your brain is like being used just to like function your body, like your breathing, your perception, your senses, like all that's going on simultaneously. A lot of your brain power is being used on stuff like that. So like, I guess in terms of like how much of my brain power is being used for like intelligence or like what I'm like doing right here in the moment, I mean, I don't know if there's like an exact number, but I mean, in the sense of like untapped brain potential though that we're not using, I think that's like an interesting question. I mean, I don't know a whole lot on like this specific answer on that, to be honest, but I think it's an interesting part. Well, like, and especially people that suffer from like depression or anxiety, a lot of times like certain parts of your brain won't function at full capacity. So stuff like that. Like there's a part of your brain called like the hippocampus, which is very specific in like memory, you know. So and people that suffer from depression and anxiety at a really high level, their hippocampus like literally just doesn't function as well. So like memory tasks and stuff, they're just not very good at them. So I mean, in terms of that, like, yeah, I guess like you can use, the healthier you are, I guess, the more like capacity you can use for your brain.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I also heard, and this is just me hearing things and then seeing if this is something that was just taught to you. I also heard that there's a new study out about how I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's a decrease in insulin or an increase in insulin, one or the other, but how like us growing up kind of like in the very kind of unhealthy foods that we eat, and a lot of people being like diabetic, pre-diabetic, like that has a high relation to people that are also like getting Alzheimer's and dementia. I think it was maybe Gary Brecka who said flipping genius. And like, I don't know, I think he calls it neurohacking or something like that. But I think he did like a study about how like, I think it was an increase in insulin. Isn't insulin? No, a decrease in insulin is the bad one, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it was like the decrease in like your insulin can lead to your memory not working well. I don't know if that's
interesting.
I don't know if that's a thing.
No, I've never heard of that.
I wish I had a fact checker to fact check me.
Yeah. I think that's interesting though, and like there's a lot like factors that like go into like the correlations between like those type of stuff, I feel like. But I've never heard that.
Oh, okay.
No. That's interesting.
I forgot the exact stat, but I remember something about like something with insulin having to do with like people getting early dementia or something like that.
Okay.
So when it comes to memory, I feel like humans, like for instance, I got 3-year-olds right now. Mm-hmm. Like the daily life of like my 3-year-olds, they will never remember when they're like 15. And then like I know, so I don't know why, but like one day I remember like just waking up when I was 4 years old. I don't know why, but I don't remember like the first 3 years of my life, of course, because my brain wasn't able to think critically and like have those memories. But what is like the when it comes to memory, what's a way to like recall while like your brain is still healthy and not going like, because obviously the older we get, the less our brain will end up working in the end. Like, so what's something that we could do when we're in our 20s or even in our teens watching, or maybe even in the 30s, to like help restore, like when we're living in a moment, that memory for later on in life, if that makes sense.
So like how to store like the exact moment, like in this moment, like how do I store? Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know if there's like a specific practice you can do to like be like, if I really want to remember this moment, like I don't know if there's a specific action you can do that's like, okay, I'm specifically gonna remember this. Like I don't know if it can work like that, but I do think like the healthier your brain is, which like it's just by, everyday life. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into like just having a good healthy brain, and a lot of that's just like, exercise is a big one. Eating healthy is another big one. And just trying to just activities and behaviors that kind of just keep you like stress free.
Yeah.
And it's really hard in today's world, like to do that, to be honest. There's like a lot of factors, I mean, as you know, like life is stressful.
Yes, very.
Life is very stressful. You just gotta work, I think, what's best for you, and I think it's like a process of kind of like just the journey of finding out what works best for you and just trying to constantly improve. But basically, to answer your question, I think just having like the healthiest brain possible at that moment is what's going to help you.
Okay.
And as long as it's like a very impactful moment.
Yeah.
So like if like your wedding day, like that's usually a pretty impactful moment. Like those memories just have a tendency to kind of stick.
Yeah.
So.
Something that for me, when I was in college, I learned this is like the times where I'm not like, I would say more thinking of my depression, not that like I wasn't depressed, but the times that I wasn't thinking about it is when like from sun up to sundown, like my schedule, I had something going on. I knew what I was going to do. And it seemed like in those, more of those like free unstructured times where I didn't like plan out the minute is where like those negative thoughts, those crazy feelings, those, the anxiousness of like everything that's going on. And so like the saying is like free yourself up, you need rest because that's good for your brain. But also like for me, I feel like the putting in the work, the literally from sun up to sundown, I have something planned is when I don't think about like those negative thoughts the most. Is like, so
sure.
If you were my quote unquote like therapist or whatever, like what would you say like that is? Like, or how could you get a healthy balance for that?
Well, sure. And that's always like a balancing act, it's like, how do I balance this to where, because almost, I don't know about you, but I mean, I think that's the case for like a lot of people. It's like, if I stay busy throughout my whole day, my brain doesn't have time to think about stuff that I don't want to think about.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas if I'm alone and, I'm just kind of like sitting on the couch or whatever, it's like stuff starts, you kind of are forced to deal with stuff that you don't want to think about. So, I mean, I think it's like I said, it's more of like, I think that like alone time is like, can be really beneficial to you because sometimes we have to tackle those thoughts that we don't want to, like the anxiety and those anxious thoughts that come in. There's something behind it. We just have to figure out like why that is. Now it's not good if you're doing that alone and you don't have any tools to fight against the anxiety. Yeah. Then you're just like being bombarded by your brain and you're like, well, this is miserable. Like this sucks.
Yes.
And then you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, well, yeah, I'm a crappy person, or whatever. So like, I think, like I said, as long as we have tools to kind of figure out and sit there and think like, all right, like, why is this happening? Like, why am I thinking this? And like I said, a good way to do that would be like writing. But I also think it's really, really good to stay busy and to like keep your mind preoccupied because you don't want to be thinking like that throughout the whole day. And there's a lot of stuff like, there's a lot for fulfillment and like work and, taking your kids places and like working out in the morning. Like that's really key. I think like, I think working out is like just so beneficial, just overall, just for like your brain and
Yeah, I think working out is one, and I think the problem with like working out is there's so many people that don't know how to do it like healthfully, and they like go in there and they just think like, hey, I gotta lift all this weight, or
Right.
like, hey, but it's like even if you're someone who doesn't work out, like just walking on the treadmill, like
Exactly.
that's something like that's a start, something, or like taking your dog or your kids or forever for like a walk around the neighborhood or the park. Like that's like a good place to start. And I know like I've never like worked out and been like, man, I regret doing that.
Exactly.
Like even if it's like stinks, because I mean I do some workouts that suck sometimes, and it's like, man, do I never like did a workout and I'm like, man, I regret that I went and worked out.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think, and such like I always tell people like just because especially if you're like a beginner, like it can be so overwhelming, like because you're like, well, and I get there, and then there's like the social pressures, like people are watching me. This makes me uncomfortable. I don't really know what I'm doing. Am I lifting properly? This guy's over here looking at me. Does he think I look like an idiot? Like, does he think I'm weak?
So there's the guys in like the cutoffs with the little like they do their own cutoff, but it looks like a tank top. Like those are always the guys that are always like, I'm like, man, they're judging me definitely because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. And it's like I just always tell people like it's just like get there. Like don't even worry if you're there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes and leave. That's fine. Just get to the gym and like that's just like a good starting point. And like you'll just like because it's just all about like comfortability. Like you're gonna start to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like after a point, because I was like that. When I started going to the gym like for the first time, I was like, I don't know, didn't really know what I was doing. Felt kind of stupid. But like the more you do it, the more interest you build into it, the more comfortable you get, and then you're like, well, I don't really care what these other people are like. I'm here. I know it makes me feel good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So and just like once people I think feel like they can start breaking down barriers, like that's like the biggest thing, like mentally, because then you can kind of like take that into like everyday life. So like even if you're there, you get to the gym, you're there for 15 minutes, you're like, okay, I did that today. That was something very uncomfortable. I didn't want to do it, but I did it.
Yeah.
So like stepping out and doing something that you don't want to, and then like 2 weeks go by and you're there for like 25 minutes, it's like slowly building these steps that can just, then you can start carrying that over to like your normal life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's huge.
Yeah. I think there's like not a negative thought, but there's like when people think about going to the gym, they think about like people staying there for 2 to 3 hours and like working on specific muscle groups. Like when I'm at the gym, like my mindset is like, okay, I got this to do. I'm going to get this done with my proper amount of rest as quickly as possible because I need to go do something else. like I usually just stick to like six or 7 exercises, like, and then I'm like, okay, boom, got these done, 3 sets. Obviously, I try to do the best form possible. I'm not like some workout genius, but it's like, all right, get this done. All right, now, for me, and I feel like I'm like, I don't want to be the person that's like at the cable machine for like 25 minutes. Like, like everybody's all like, man, he's working on that one exercise for like 5 hours, and then they just sit there and then they're texting on their phone for the next 25 minutes. They go back to the cable machine, like, no, like get in.
We all see that guy.
Yeah, like get in, get out. Like there's no pressure to like work on your top of your bicep for 45 minutes and then jump to the next. Like, no, just get in there, get out.
Like, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be, and that's like the other thing when you first start. You're like, well, am I supposed to do only arms this day? Like, I don't know. I'm pushing and pulling.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And it's just kind of like, man, just get in there and like, just do your thing. Get a sweat in.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're doing the same workouts for like 2 weeks, if you're doing the exact same thing. I think just getting in there and just physically like working out your body in some form or way, like that's just the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the more you do it, then the more you're like, well, maybe I'll try this a little differently. And just get more comfortable.
Yeah. So something I think that also for me is like an important part of my life is like, especially when it's like reinforcing like those positive thoughts or like kind of making your brain healthy is like the social circles we hang out with. And so I, I would say for most people, like sometimes the friends that you, and I'll probably get a lot of slack for this, but it's okay. Like sometimes the friends that you pick are even more important than like the spouse you pick. Because let's say for instance, like the spouse you're with doesn't work out, like who are you going to lean on when that doesn't work out? Like your spouse is obviously important, but the people that you surround yourself with, like through the majority of your life, like uh, like that's those are the people that you want to lean on when like you're when times are going rough, like people that you can trust when like, hey, I'm going through this. Can you be keeping me in your thoughts? Can you be keeping me like can you help me get back to where I'm supposed to be? So like what does it like say about like the social circles that we hang out with, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, that is a huge factor
Yeah.
in what kind of shapes us, I believe, anyway. Yeah, people that you kind of hang out with, and it's like the old saying goes, it's like, what it's the birds or whatever, flock to the whatever. It's
There's a bunch, but like the nine. If you hang out with the nine, I know who the 10's gonna be.
Yeah. It's just like how the people you hang out with have a huge influence on you, and having a really good support system, that is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my personal life, I've really been blessed with that. My family's really big support group for me. You're a really big support group for me. And my buddy Colton, he's a really big support group for me. And that is huge. Having that in your life can like make a huge difference for sure. Because man, you can't, when you're going through stuff alone, like I said, especially when your brain and anxiety and all that's just like going on, having somebody that you feel comfortable with like expressing, and that that they're going to be like truthful with you and like be real with you, that's huge. Yeah, so like social circle definitely has a huge influence on you. And it's the same for like the opposite. Like if you're hanging around a bunch of people that are like not good for you socially, that's just not good for you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so the people you hang around with is definitely a huge factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for like, I guess for me growing up, like I have a really good family. Like I do have a really good family, but some of the things that like I struggle with as a man is just like opening up and like being honest and like saying like, hey, how I'm feeling, kind of like that old like even if you're going through it, like put your head down, grind through it. And I think there's some little bit of truth with that. Like, hey, like this season won't last forever, but there's also some like uh freedom and like opening up and being like honest about like, hey, how you're feeling. So what would you say for like the healthy, where is there a healthy like, hey, no, put your head down and grind, or it's like, hey, open up your feelings? Like where does that kind of that balancing act find itself?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if there's like a perfect balancing act for like each individual. It probably varies for each person. But I mean, I think there is stuff that there's only so much that another individual can like take on for you, right? Like there's still going to be that weight on your back, and they can like help you, and maybe they can take some weight off it, but you're still going to have to carry it.
Yeah.
So I think having the ability to kind of grind it out and kind of figure out why you're feeling the way you are, what's going on, like why is this happening, what can I do in this situation that's like gonna improve me as a person, those type of things. Yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna have to go through that eventually in life, no matter what. Like that's just something everybody's gonna you're gonna run into a wall, and it's just gonna happen. Like, and it's really nice to have those people, and you can go to those people that you really trust and that can help you out. But I don't know if there's like a perfect but like I said, balancing act because some people don't have that support system at all.
Yeah.
Right. And some people make it out of that still just by putting their nose down and kind of grinding through. Other people don't. They don't, they don't make it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just like, I just don't know if there's like a perfect balance. Yeah. But that's why it's just like so important, I think, to have for people to be like aware of like having the right tools. Mm-hmm. I guess that's another thing that got me into psychology is like, how can I improve people's lives by giving them the tools to be able to figure stuff out like on their own. Yeah. Because people aren't always going to be there for you. Yeah. And therapy is expensive.
It is.
So.
And they're like they're so booked out. So it's like, hey, like we could do therapy today, but your next appointment's going to be in like 4 months. And it's like, there's so much that can happen in 4 months. Yeah. It's like, my number's always there, but they have 300 people they're seeing all like through that time. And so.
Yeah. And I think, my therapy is really good. And I always tell people like they should go to therapy, like if, they're going through stuff, and therapy can be super helpful. But I think just giving people, if I can find out like tools that can make people become the individuals they want to be or like better individuals, then I think that'd be huge.
Yeah.
And I just got to figure out a way to do that in the best way possible, like the most. Because, therapy is expensive. And like you said, they're always booked up. Plus, therapy, honestly, doesn't work for everybody. Like it's really tough to find like a therapist that works for you. You can go through like 6 or 7 therapists and be like, these people don't work for me. So I think, and I don't think it's like another question is how long should you be going through therapy? Do you plan on going through therapy the rest of your life type of deal, Mm-hmm. Or is this therapist giving me tools and like, stuff to like function in my daily life? Like, so I don't know, just trying to find a way for people to function.
Yeah, I've heard therapy is like creatine. You can't take it all the time, but you gotta take it when you need the most results. Yeah. So, like, that's funny. But so speaking of like the therapy portion of it, what are some like, I guess some hidden tools that you've learned so far about like how to like if someone's thinking about. Like for me, when I went to therapy, Dr. Varble, she's my homie. All right. But she told me, she basically said, like, I was telling her everything that's going on. She's like, hey, I don't know if you know this, you have anxiety. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, she's like, you tell me like you're constantly overthinking. And so like that realization that's like, hey, like, she's like, hey, I'm not going to diagnose you with anxiety, but I'm telling you everything that you're telling me leads up to like, hey, you're probably a little anxious in these times. Like that was way more reassuring to me, like hearing that from somebody who didn't even know me for like the first time. And I guess for some people it's like, how does this person know me? They've only known me for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. But something that like she said that's like helped me is like when you're thinking about, or like when you're overthinking about something, like focus on the facts. Like if you can, as soon as you get that anxious thought, like catch it there and say, hey, what are the facts adding up to this? Is like, has there been any point in my life to where like what I'm overthinking about has actually happened? Or has it been something that I've overthought about and then it never ends up happening and then I'm just worried? And so she probably said it more like doctor and like professional.
I thought that was well put.
But so like what are some like tools that you know of that like people can put into place in their life to like just be, I'd say, more mentally healthy?
Like practices?
Yeah.
Well, I'm no professional or anything. Obviously, I'm still going through school, so a lot of stuff I say, take for a grain of salt or whatever. Yeah. But these are just kind of my ideas from what I've learned, my personal kind of beliefs. Like I said, I've mentioned before already, journaling I think is really huge. I think doing that every day is really good for people. I think exercise is important, whether that be And when I say exercise, I don't mean you don't have to go to the gym and lift for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
If you go out and go for a walk for half an hour a day, or even just start doing it 20 minutes a day, that's huge. That is huge. Especially if you go for a walk and you get some time just to like put the phone away, maybe put on some music and just kind of like relax, like just chill. I think that is extremely beneficial because it kind of gives you a way to clear your thoughts and see what's been bothering you. And another good practice I think is having a limit on social media, to be honest, because also a lot of like anxiety comes from like when your brain's racing, and like in today's society when we have our phones, it's like when we're alone or when we're bored, it's like, all right, got my phone, hop on the old social medias, and it's like there's just no time to really like figure out what's going on, like what are we thinking about, like I just think that's really key, is just to figure out like, why am I thinking this way, what's going on. And another good practice I would say I mean sleeping well and eating well, to be honest, can make a really big impact.
I think sleep's the most like underappreciated thing in humans that we do, especially in college.
Yeah.
Like in college, you'd be like, "Ooh, it's 10 o'clock. I still got 2 hours." Like,
right.
And so, like, when my first class, 8 a.m. Oh, I could stay up to like 2.
Yeah.
And I remember playing football and like staying up to like 1 or 2, and I'm like, "Ooh, 5 a.m. lifts. I get 3 hours of sleep in. I can survive." But it's so, like sleep in general. Just like when kids tell me like, "Hey, I'm sick. I'm not going to be at school." Like my first thing is like, "Hey, get as much sleep as you can." Sleep is so good for growth. Sleep is so good for like health. Sleep is so good. Like that is literally like us shutting down and our brain doing the work without our input, essentially. I feel like, but I don't know. Like, would you say scientifically, like when we go to sleep, what is our brain doing?
Well, it's kind of funny you say that. I was actually just reading a little bit about that yesterday. I don't know. I haven't studied a whole lot about like what the brain's doing during sleep or anything like that, especially like the whole REM sleep, non-REM sleep or whatever. But I know that sleep is very crucial in what like the brain, like the healthiness of the brain, like it's just extremely crucial. I don't know the exact like chemicals or whatever is going on during like sleep, or what a good practice was or to do like before sleep or anything like that. I really don't know a whole lot about that, to be honest, but I do find sleep like really interesting. I find dreams really interesting, actually. Dreams.
I hate that you can't remember them all the time.
Yeah,
that's what I hate.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to like our brain, like not just using our full potential to our brain. But when you do remember a dream, it's like, whoa.
Dreams are wild, man. Yeah. I think that's one thing that, definitely shows like the power of the brain. Like dreams they can cause so much emotion. It's like wild to me.
Yeah.
Like I've had some dreams personally that just like really impacted me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just weird that such a thing, like, why is that even a thing? Like, how am I sleeping and my brain is keeping my body like alive while I'm sleeping? And at the same time, I'm in this realm, whatever you want to call it, and it's all made up in my brain. And it's like when you watch like a really good movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the movie makes you, if it's a really good scary movie, it makes you fearful, right? Like super scared. I don't know if you've ever had a nightmare where it's made you probably scared than any like movies.
Yeah.
So like the way I thought about it is like the scariest movie like ever made by the greatest scary movie director ever made. Like my brain made a more powerful movie than that while I was sleeping. Isn't that not kind of crazy?
That is, yeah.
Because if you think about it, like the environment, the people in your dream, what's the scenario, what the people are saying to you, all of that is directed by your brain. Like
It's crazy.
That's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like, while you're sitting there and in this dream, while you're like, kind of like deciding like what's going on. So like I say something to this person in this dream, then it's like you're having a conversation with your brain, because your brain is deciding what it's saying back to you. That's kind of a freaky concept to me.
Yeah.
That's why I think dreams are so interesting. It's like the fact that my brain is creating this, and some dream environments are like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, but some dreams are like just like, well, that was just like weird. It's like, but I don't know. It's something I really find interesting.
I had a dream once that I was a snail. I don't know what the significance of that is, but I literally was just a snail and I had a shell. And my shell broke, and I was going to find another shell. And like that was the exact dream.
Yeah, that was the premise of the
dream.
dream.
I've also had dreams like where, like, I would say the scariest one that impacted me, like literally made me kind of like think about my life for a long period of time, was like it was right before I was about to be a dad, and it was the place that I was living at. I was at that place, and it was like, in the dream, my wife was all like, "Hey, there's something going on outside," and like, I woke up outside, and there was like this demon woman outside. I go, oh my gosh, like we need to keep her outside. Like I remember in the dream, so I shut the door, and it was like Stranger Things, like Vecna flung open the door, and all of a sudden I'm all like, oh my gosh, don't let him get the kids. And so
this was before you had the kids?
This is before I had the kids. All right. So didn't even know.
Did you say kids plural?
Yes. So I knew.
You knew
I knew I was going to have the twins.
Okay.
I just know that. But it only affected Wesley. It didn't affect Addison.
Okay.
So this is kind of when it hit me even more, I guess, being like a dad and having a son. And so I'm running upstairs, but this like demon lady turns into like kind of like a spirit, but it's like slingshots upstairs before I can get up there. And I opened the door of like the apartment I was living at, and it was like a hospital room. It was really freaky. And like I saw this old person on the hospital bed, and I shut the door real quick and I opened it back up, and then it's my room. And Wesley was it wasn't Wesley at the time, but in my dream, like the baby was sitting in the crib or whatever, and I pick it up, and then all of a sudden I hear like this like mechanically laughing, and I like look at the baby, and it's the zombie, like, or the demon lady, and she says like, I got you, and now I have your kids. And then like Dementor like flew at me,
Yeah.
and then I woke up, and I was like, what just happened? Like,
Yeah.
And so like that made me ponder life for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I fasted. Like I really was just all like I'm Christian, so that was one of the things that like I've never tried before, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna try to get some answers from like God about this. And so the only thing that like I could think about, and my buddy Ayeble, when I told him this, because I'm like, dude, I just need some clarity. Like, what could this be? He said the only thing that like when he's listening to it, like I got you, and now I got your kids, is this idea of like some sort of hidden anger that you haven't dealt with. And so then I'm all like, shoot, like I'm pretty passionate dude. like I get pretty. So that was something that like I'm like, man, when my kids get here, like, is there going to be some sort of? So then I get anxiety about like, man, am I going to be like an angry father? Like, what kind of dad then am I going to be now?
Yeah.
And so, but that was something that like changed like the outlook of my life. Like I was like, man, I gotta figure this one specific thing that happened during 7 hours of sleep. Like I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. It makes you think about a lot of stuff. And then what's really weird is I think a lot of dreams do that for people, is they make us kind of be like introspective, I guess. Like, what was that about? Like, what is my mind trying to tell me there? Because it's like, is that completely random? You know, like, why would my brain make that up if it's completely random?
yeah.
Like,
So now I need to go back and think about the snail. Like, all right.
Right. Like finding meaning behind a snail. That'd be the interesting one. Yeah. No, man. I mean, and I'm no expert in like dream interpretation or anything like that, but I mean, I think what Ayebele said, like the internalization of stuff, that could definitely be. I think that could be it. But I mean, as long as you're going through like what was going on there, I think if you keep pursuing that, you'll find out like, and as long as you're trying to improve yourself, that's the key, right?
Yeah. Well, I finally realized like, and I just came out of it really like going back to a dark season like mentally. Like I go like I feel like it's just like this, like the heart machine. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Like you have your good moments where you're like on top of the world, but then you have those bad moments. And I think like the key is during those bad moments, like for me, is that I'm all like, hey, even when it's hard to get up out of bed, still do it. Yeah. Even when it's hard to go to the gym, like my time period to go to the gym is from 4 a.m. to 5:30. Like that's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, but when I do it, like even if I don't want to be there, the fact that I'm forcing myself to like, hey, do this because you know it's going to make you feel better. And NF just put out a EP, and one of the songs and who I was, one of the words were lash out, need to take a breath and calm down. Something about like regulating feelings, was never taught that, and look at my kids and feel sad because I don't want them to end up like dad. And that hit me. Like if I don't regulate these things, like in my current being, like the things that my kids see me do, they end up learning. And so if they don't learn how to regulate their feelings, regulate their attitudes, regulate their mental health, like then they're just going to end up in the cycle that I'm in. And so it's not, and I think parents get this, and I think it's also just in leadership in general where they're afraid to make their kids better than them. And it's all like, no, I want my kids to be able to understand their feelings, be able to regulate their feelings so that they don't go into the dark pits like I do sometimes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's really awesome to kind of like hear that, to be honest. It's like inspirational because I think just you being aware of that is like, that just puts you on the right track. Because it's not going to be like this wonderful, beautiful path where you're going to be able to perfectly lead your kids to like, but like, if as long as you're aware of it and you're striving to make that happen, bro, I mean, I think that's all like, because you're going to mess up.
Yeah.
Like, there's no perfect book on parenting, is what they always say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think it's awesome that you're just like, that's something you strive for.
And I know, but
I think that's something that, like you said, most parents and leaders should strive for. Like, you want them to have a better life than you did.
Yeah.
And hopefully that when they get older and they have kids, they strive the same.
Yeah.
And then that's how we kind of get generations to grow.
Yeah. And it's like I knew when I was 19, 20 years old, like I would have never done that. Like I would have never learned how to regulate my feelings. And it's like, I don't know, not that I'm old, but being 27 now instead of 19, like I see the bigger picture. At 19, when I was going through it, I'm like, why is me living important? And now I see like, even when those times when I get where I like, and my brain's telling me like, hey dude, you'd be better off dead. I can see a bigger picture. Like, I know that there's like me making that choice in that moment and unhealthy mental thought has so many ripple effects that could lead the big picture. Like that now my family doesn't have a dad. Now like you don't have a friend. Now my parents don't have a son. And like I think sometimes when we get into those mindset of like, hey, I'm better off dead, it's like we don't think about those ripple effects that we hit. And for me to like learn that, it took losing 2 people to suicide. Like, because I know if I didn't lose those 2 people to suicide at 19, like I would have been another statistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and I think it kind of stems from, and this is going to sound harsh, but it does not mean to, like the self-centered kind of culture we live in, and where we sometimes don't think about other people. But it's like when you get through that, like the best thing that I could ever do was, because I'm really good at like showing people love, showing people love, showing people love. The best thing that I could ever do for me is like learn how to love me, because then I can love people better.
That's
that makes sense.
beautiful. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that's another great thing about like kind of my goals as we're looking into psychology is like, I think, because I also take like a lot of great, like, I like helping people a lot too. Like that's just something I really enjoy. But you can't help other people unless you're like really, I feel like, understand yourself a little bit, you know, and or at least not. You can't help people to the full capacity that you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think being able to love yourself and like figuring that all out first, then you kind of start to get like a love of like, well, how do I get other people to like feel the same sort of way? And then I think that's a great way to like build a community and like, yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
But,
well, I know this was a project, and so so we won't let your professor listen for too long. But thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
it was fun. We'll have to run it back and do another
sure.
mental health episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening.